I know I look bundled up, but it's a cold and rainy day here in Sacramento. And Constance insisted, and of course I obeyed and took a nice little walk, at least down to the coffee shop in the rain, in my poncho and my. Uh, but anyway, I'm dry now. I'm home, and we've got the living room here, uh, kind of warm and cozy, but I'm still want to keep bundled up. Anyway, today we're starting. We're not starting. We're continuing sort of the train of thought from yesterday concerning Abrahadabra. So we're going to talk just briefly today about Abrahadabra. Abrahadabra is a magic word like Shazam or presto chango. It's a magic word, but it's a word that announces a formula. Okay, so the word really in and of itself uh, isn't magic unless you know, as you're saying the word, as you're pronouncing the word, uh, what it means. Okay, and exactly what power uh, the, the the word represents. So that makes it powerful. The magician makes the magic word magic. But anyway, it's easy to see that abrahadabra is a word with five A's and six other letters. Okay, so in a sense, uh, that could be a code for the union of the five of the microcosm with the six of the macrocosm, or union with the holy guardian angel. So when all of that concept seeps into a person, uh, and then they link that in thought and emotion to the word abrahadabra, all of a sudden abrahadabra really takes on true Shazam uh, magical intensity. The first word of the third chapter of the book of the law is Abrahadabra. Abrahadabra, the reward of Rahurku. Now, I'm going to read a couple of Crowley things, and I'm going to read a DuQuette thing. Uh, but let's start with the Crowley thing. And it is from the Book of Lies, okay, chapter 69. Now, before I even do that, DuQuette's got a song. It's called When You Fall in Love. Okay, I tried to get out the guitar and plunk it for you this morning, but basically this is it. When you fall in love, you change everything. Uh, sun, moon, galaxies are created when you fall in love. Uh, uh, your genes are mutated when you fall in love. Okay. And the last verse goes, when you're making love, you lose the world, you lose everything. Two turn into one, and then nothing. It's kind of a quantum thing when you fall in love. Okay. So, and it's a pleasant little song, and it's a ditty and everything, and you can take it on all sorts of sticky, sentimental ways if you want. But it's that last verse. When you're making love, you lose the world. You lose everything. That's not a bad thing, okay? You lose everything. two turn into one and then nothing. It's kind of a quantum thing. Okay. Now we're getting at sort of the magic of Abrahadabra. And there's a couple things that Crowley will point out. But in verse 69 of the Book of Lies, it's called the way to succeed and the way to suck eggs. This is the holy hexagram. Plunge from the height, O God, and interlock with man. Plunge from the height, O man, and interlock with beast. The red triangle is the descending tongue of grace. The blue triangle is the ascending tongue of prayer. This interchange, this double gift of tongues, the word of double power, Abrahadabra, is the sign of the great work. For the great work is accomplished in silence. And behold, is not that word equal to chet? Okay, chet, the Hebrew letter chet, when spelled in full, is 418. That is Cancer, the sign of Cancer. Whose sigil is 69. There's our double gift of tongues. And it just happens to be the chariot card. And in the Thoth deck, the chariot card in the canopy there has the words Abra, and it looks like Kadabra, but we know what's going on there in the starry canopy. So I'm going to repeat that again. This interchange, the double gift of tongues, the word of double power, Abrahadabra, is the sign of the great work. For the great work is accomplished in silence, and behold, is not that word equal to chet? That is Cancer, whose sigil is 69. So Abrahadabra adds to 418. That word is equal to chet, spelled in full. Chet is assigned to Cancer. Cancer is assigned to the chariot. And Cancer, the sigil of Cancer is 69. This work also eats itself up, accomplishes its own end, nourishes the worker, leaves no seed, is perfect in itself. And it ends, little children, love one another. Okay. In Crowley's Mass of the Phoenix, he has a Eucharist. Okay. It's a sunset ceremony that a Thelemic magician does at sunset as the sun is going down, and the magician has a chance to bathe his or her chest in the last rays of the sun. And the idea is to capture the sun and put it inside you for the night. Okay. Or it's a Eucharist of putting Eucharist of the sun. Eat the sun enough, you'll turn into the sun. Okay, that's the magician, his breast bare, stands before an altar on which are his burin, and that's sharp, pointy, sharp thing, a bell, thurible, and 2 cakes of light. In the sign of the Interer, he reaches west across the altar and cries, Hail Ra, that goest in thy bark into the caverns of the dark. He gives a sign of silence, takes the bell and fire in his hand. East of the altars see me stand with light and music in mine hands. And he strikes 11 times on the bell. Okay, there's 11 letters in Abrahadabra. Ding, 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 ding. And he places fire on the thurible. I strike the bell, I light the flame, I utter the mysterious name, Abrahadabra. He strikes 11 times on the bell again. Ding, 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 ding. Now, the 3 dings in front is half of the 6. And the 3 dings at the end is the other half of the 6, or the macrocosm. And the 5 in the middle is the microcosm. So that is an efficient battery of 11 things, making a microcosmic sandwich between the macrocosmic slices of bread. Ding, 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 ding. Now I begin to pray. Thou child, holy thy name and undefiled. Thy reign is come, thy will is done. Here is the bread. Here is the blood. Bring me through midnight to the sun. Save me from evil and from good. That thy one crown of all the 10, even now and here, be mine. Amen. He puts the first cake of light on the fire of the thurible. I burn the incense cake, proclaim these adorations of thy name. And then it says he makes the adorations as in Liber Legis. That's the Unity Uttermost showed sections of the Book of the Law, the poetry sections taken actually from the translation of the reverse side of the stele. After he does the solar adorations, he strikes again 11 times on the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Then he takes the burin, or the sharp, or the dagger, and makes a cut. Makes upon his breast the proper sign. It doesn't say cross, it doesn't say mark of the beast, but you're thinking it's sort of that mark of the beast combination of sun and moon, or circle and cross is whatever it is. He has to scratch it deep enough to bring a little bit of blood to the surface of the chest. Behold this bleeding breast of mine, gashed with the sacramental sign. Now that blood is seeping out of the chest. He takes another remaining cake of light, little host, a little piece of bread kind of, and he puts it on the wound. I staunch the blood, the wafer soaks it up, and the high priest invokes. So the blood and the bread, which is round like the sun, and that blood has just been exposed to the last rays of the sun, traveled 93 million miles for those photons to enter that exposed, living, heart-beating blood, and it's soaked up in the round, earth-like corn, meal, honey, thick leavings of red wine, and charges it. I staunch the blood, the wafer soaks it up, and the high priest invokes. Then he eats that came out of the magician, charged with the sun, goes back into the magician, where the magician's own natural chemistry laboratory goes to work transferring that light of the sun into the nutrients and the life-giving force of the sun itself. This bread I eat, this oath I swear, as I inflame myself with prayer. There is no grace, there is no guilt. This is the law, do what thou wilt. He strikes 11 more times on the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Then he says it. This is what the whole ceremony was set up to do. After going through all of that, the magician can now say, and after striking that bell 44 times, 44 is the number of DM or Daleth Mem, blood. After all of that, he strikes the bell one more time, or 11 more times, and says, Abrahadabra. I entered in with woe. With mirth I now go forth to do my pleasure on the earth. Oh, I now go forth and with thanksgiving to do my pleasure on the earth among the legions of the living. And then he goes out. Abrahadabra. The chariot card. I'm going to read you just my comments. They're very short, really. On the chariot card, which is Het, which is 418, which is Abrahadabra. But it's a very special card, the chariot card, or the path of Het on the tree of life goes from number 3 above the abyss to number 5. This crosses the abyss. Get inside that chariot with that holy grail filled with the blood of all evolving life back and delivers it to Babylon herself. The chariot. The official title is Child of the Powers of the Waters, Lord of the Triumph of Light. Zodiacal Trump of Cancer. Luna rules. Jupiter is exalted. The original design was a young and holy king under a starry canopy, drives furiously a chariot drawn by 2 sphinxes, as Levi drew it, the classic image. Hebrew letter Het. Path 18, joining Bina, understanding, to Gebura, severity. Now, here is Crowley's little mnemonic, or his comment on Het. And he simply says, the issue of the vulture. 2 in 1 conveyed. This is the chariot of power. Trink, the last oracle. Trink. Okay. You read that and you go, what is he talking about? Crowley, I start off with a little excerpt from a letter from Harris to Crowley as she's doing the chariot card. But I'll omit that at the moment. I hope the reader will forgive me for not spending a great deal of time discussing the superficial features of this card. They are much like those found in traditional versions of this trump. The chariot is drawn by sphinxes representing the elemental blending of the cherubic beasts. The starry canopy of the chariot represents the night sky. The charioteer is in full armor, much like the crab of the zodiac sign Cancer, which this card represents. He bears the Holy Grail, in this case a magnificent carved amethyst, sacred to Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer. The whole is a rendering of Crowley's vision of the 12th Aether in the Vision and the Voice. So that's the 12th Aether of the Enochian system and the vision that Crowley had when he penetrated the 12th Aether. You can find it in Vision and the Voice. I would also like to focus upon the secret of sexual alchemy that Crowley seems anxious to convey in his comments on the chariot in the Book of Thoth. Let's start by reviewing the above quote from Crowley's general characters of the trumps as they appear in use. The issue of the vulture, 2 in 1 conveyed. This is the chariot of power. Trink, that's T-R-I-N-C, Trink, the last oracle. This is perhaps the most obscure of all the verses of that work. It talks about 2 in 1 conveyed. The chariot, of course, conveys the charioteer who conveys the Holy Grail. Therefore, the Holy Grail must represent or contain the 2 in 1. But what is the Holy Grail and what is the 2 in 1? Grail mythology tells us that the Holy Grail is the cup from which Christ drank at the Last Supper. The same one that Joseph of Arimathea used to catch the blood and water that spilled from the lip-like spear wound in the side of the crucified Christ. Joseph later conveyed the Grail and the spear to a magically consecrated or constructed castle where their mysterious powers complicated the lives of many generations of noble knights. In one very real way, the chariot is the chapel of the Holy Grail on wheels. It's a chapel of the Holy Grail RV. Am I trying to tell you that the precious bodily fluids of Christ are really the ingredients of the 2 in 1 cocktail of the Holy Grail? In a way, yes. But let's look at it another way. Let's look at it as the issue of the vulture. In Egyptian mythology, the vulture was sacred to Ma'at, the goddess of justice and supreme balance. The vulture was said to conceive without mating. Now, I'm going to digress for a moment, because if you've been watching the science news in the last 2 weeks, you will have read that scientists and animal experts have confirmed that vultures can reproduce without mating. What's the technical term? Whatever. A female vulture can lay an egg that hatches into another vulture without having mated with a male vulture. Now, Egyptians weren't stupid, okay? Somehow they figured that out. Not only that, but when the wind blew, when the sometimes the southern wind, the killing wind, the devil wind blew, vultures didn't get up in the air. They didn't hide in trees. They stayed on the ground and they turned their backsides to the wind. And that wind blew up their butts, making their feathers all bend that way. So the Egyptians put two and two together and said, the spirit of the wind. And spirit actually means air. Okay. Mary was impregnated in the by something in the form of a dove. Okay. The wind magically makes the vultures pregnant. Okay. Keeping that in mind. The vulture was said to conceive without mating. Its child immaculately conceived in a mysterious internal process that, for all other creatures, requires contributions from both male and female. The issue of the vulture, it's not the subject of the vulture, the issue, what comes out of the, okay, what issues out of the body of a vulture. The issue of the vulture is therefore the product or child of an internal marriage of two perfectly balanced things, or two in one. That's all fine and good, but in real life, vultures mate like any other bird. Well, this is what I wrote back then. Okay. And even if they didn't, how would we humans go about emulating that magical process? For us, neither the male nor the female is a complete human unit capable of reproduction. What is absent in the male is present in the female and vice versa. Our creation of the two in one that results in the issue of a human baby is the most natural and usually the most pleasant of all cooperative endeavors. How the principles that affect the very human sexual act reflect on a cosmic scale, however, what would we do with the real two in one, even if we knew how to create it? The answer is Trink, T-R-I-N-C. An oracular word that comes from the story of Gargantua and Pantagruel, a mystical satire by Francis Rabelais. In the story, one of the main characters, Panurge, seeks the answer to the question, should I marry? He and his companions eventually decide to seek the oracle of the bottle for the answer. After many adventures, they finally reach the temple of the bottle. They pass through the door upon which is written, En oino athei, in wine is truth, or in vino, where Bakbuk, the priestess, yeah, her name's Bakbuk. Like when you get a bottle of wine, you go, Bak, 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 bak. But I digress. Bakbuk, the priestess of the temple, takes them into the presence of the holy bottle. Panurge poses his question, and the holy bottle answers by making a sharp sound like the cracking of a glass. Trink! Now, in anybody's language, the sound Trink. Sounds like the breaking of a bottle. Put a bottle of champagne and forget about it in the freezer for about an hour. You'll hear the word Trink. Panurge interprets this as an affirmation or an affirmative answer, an admonition to drink deep from the wellspring of life and knowledge. Well, as you've probably guessed, Panurge's question, should I marry, has a deeper magical implication than simply questioning the wisdom or folly of matrimony. It should be of particular interest to us because we see so much marrying going on in the trumps of the Thoth Tarot. Recall our Kabbalistic fairy tale in chapter 10 is all about marriage. The marriage of the prince and the princess, the holy guardian angel and his client, the marriage of the supernal king and queen. Two things becoming one, to be a formula of supreme spiritual importance in tarot. Two turn into one and then nothing. It's kind of a quantum thing. But Trink is a curious answer to the question, should I marry? Drink what? The Hebrew letter associated with the chariot is chet, which when spelled in full enumerates to 418, the same number as Abrahadabra, the magical word that expresses the formula of the marriage of the macrocosm with the microcosm, or the aspirant to his or her holy guardian angel. This word, with a slight Lady Harris typo, can be seen embroidered in the canopy of the chariot card. Abrahadabra is also indicative of uniting male and female, as we see it expressed in other trumps as alchemical images, such as the red and the white lion, the white and the red eagle. The chariot represents the zodiac sign Cancer, whose symbol is a not too subtle glyph for a particular technique of tantric yoga in which the male and female energies and essences are perfectly prepared, balanced, and exchanged to create a two-in-one elixir of life. The elixir is then conveyed in a particular manner to serve as a Eucharistic talisman of unlimited creative potential. In the language of thelemic imagery, the elixir is brewed in the Holy Grail by Babylon Nuit in Binah, who then offers it to the beast Hadit in Hokmah, the queen of our Kabbalistic, the king of our Kabbalistic fairy tale, and they both drink, and become ecstatically drunken. In doing so, they annihilate all sense of separateness, and so on. Two turn into one, and then nothing. When you're making love, you lose the world. You lose everything. Two turn into one, and then nothing. It's kind of a quantum thing. The path of the chariot crosses the abyss and joins the fifth Sephirah Geburah to the third Sephirah Binah. Being so high on the tree of life, its mysteries deal with the most sublime and profound aspects of nature and consciousness. Please keep this in mind when you're attempting to view this card and my comments as simply an expression of sexual alchemy. As effective as this operation can be, it is only a reflection of the magic of the gods, a faint echo of the titanic forces, energies, and love that creates, sustains, and destroys the universe. Again, that comes from Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. And I've probably gone well over. I hear Constance in the kitchen sounding like breakfast is almost ready. So until tomorrow, Abrahadabra. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.